First and foremost, a massive thank you for 90 million views on the channel. That is absolutely obscene, and Glen and I just can't thank you enough. Secondly, we have our membership set up over at SwitchUp.gg. What exactly is it? Well, it's very similar to the Nintendo Gold Coins. Every time you buy an Eshop credit voucher or you buy a game, you get a small percentage back in SwitchUp Tokens that you can use whenever you want. And it also doesn't stop you still getting your gold coins when you buy things using that Eshop credit. Happy days! All the better for adding to our backlog. All the links to that are in the description. There's even a little bit of a bonus if you're pre-ordering Zelda. Yeah, all the info in the description, go check it out. And a thanks to the sponsor of this episode, Square Enix. That is pretty darn sweet. What are the best games on sale? Well, let's find out. First up then, we have one of the best Metroidvanias I've ever played, and it's Ori and the Blind Forest. Now, you should know going in that it is quite difficult, but every element of it is so well crafted. It tells a lovely story using a very familiar, I guess now, Studio Ghibli art style, or Ghibli if you want to pronounce it correctly. And I just couldn't believe what a fantastic job the Microsoft team did bringing it across to the Switch platform. It runs well enough, there are a few dips here and there, but it gives you a vast open world, freedom to explore in loads of different directions, find secret items, and I guess in many ways, it tells a story bigger than itself. I don't want to spoil it, but it will stick in your memory for a long time, and at 75% off, as I say, Ori and the Blind Forest is well worth adding to your collection. This episode and segment has been sponsored by Final Fantasy XIV Online, which I first played almost a decade ago and is still going strong with loads of new content and updates. It's not on Switch just yet, but you can get it on PlayStation, PC and also Mac. And if you use our link in the description down there or in the top pinned comment, then the free trial actually lets you play up to level 60 with no time restrictions. And I love that that lets you play any of the job classes on a single character. There's no need to make tons of different characters. You can switch up your job style whenever you want. There are 14 different jobs to choose from, as well as some notable fan favourites. There's something for everyone. Personally, I always like to play as a summoner. Something about the unassuming nature, and not wearing heavy armour, but strolling in and then unleashing hell. To get started, it's as easy as clicking the link in the description, navigate into your platform of choice, which for me was Mac, don't judge me, and it will guide you through an easy setup and download. So if you want to support us and give it a go, then check out the link in the description, and keep your eyes out for SwitchUp Mark. Then in the US regions, you have Dying Light, the definitive edition, at 80% off, which is by far the cheapest it's ever been. If you've never played it before, it's a first-person, parkour-based, zombie apocalypse survival simulator. You can jump from roof to roof, you're carrying out lots of different jobs, and it was an incredibly impressive Switch port. They even worked on it after launch, because initially I don't think it had a frame rate cap, which caused some issues, and then they locked it out at a completely silky 30 FPS. And yes, I know, to that one person that's feverishly typing, 30 isn't silky, you are absolutely correct, but 30 done right is a lot better than uncapped. Here there are tons of missions. It's open world, but it has a hub area that's set within a high-rise building. And while some of the voice acting's a bit cheesy, I absolutely loved it in my review. I had originally played it back on PC and didn't really think it would work well on Switch, but it surprised me. And if you want to check out that review, I will pop a link in the description. Next up, we've got Mark of the Ninja, which has been out for a long time on Switch, but is arguably one of our best 2D stealth games. This is the remastered version, which includes all of the improvements. And once you've got that combat dialed, you are, quite literally a ninja, I guess. It's really easy to just dispatch enemies and then smoothly roll on to the next one. It includes the special edition DLC, which actually added in quite a nice chunk of content, and it does get rather tricky as you go on, to put it mildly. There is a New Game Plus mode here, which is always nice to see. Have I unlocked it? No, I haven't. You need to have finished the base game, and I haven't got round to it just yet. There's this giant mountain of games that stares accusingly at me, but Mark of the Ninja Remastered will be destroyed eventually, or at least that's what I'm telling myself. Now at 75% off until May the 5th, it's definitely worth adding to your collection, and it fits into a reasonable 3.6GB download. Then I have SnowRunner, which I've mentioned quite a few times on the channel now. Originally it was our hidden gem, and then it was a you really should try this, And I guess we're now at the you really should try this, because although what I'm about to say is going to sound very dull, I promise you it's so addictive. Now, essentially, imagine if you took GTA and you stripped out all the murder and mindless violence and you replaced it with, missions to deliver logs and take bricks to a to a farmyard and rescue trucks from mud. Yep, that's pretty much what you do here. Now, while that might sound completely dull, for some weird reason, it has a cathartic hook that I cannot describe. It's incredibly relaxing, it controls well, and it can also strangely be quite, it's not scary per se, but like exciting. There's large open maps, and one of them sees you moving through snow, obviously, but that snow reacts completely different to the mud, and you'll be flying along down the road ready to deliver something, and then you'll spin out, end up completely off the track and stuck somewhere. And if you're playing online, which is a really nice way of playing, you might have someone else come and rescue you. But if not, you'll have to switch to a different vehicle and then head out to that same place. It'll involve planning out a route on a map, and I know this sounds a bit arduous, doesn't it? But it's not. It's just so good, and arguably, again, one of the best looking games we have on Switch, with those real-time mud and snow physics, the weighting and feeling of all those vehicles. I absolutely love this one, and they've constantly updated it, patched it up, and added in loads of new content, so it's well worth picking up. SnowRunner is 40% off until May the 5th. Now, Glen and I are working on a new co-op list at the moment, and we started playing Don't Starve together. We died repeatedly for about 6 runs, and then we started to get to grips with it, and it really is an enjoyable experience. Now, if you're not familiar with Don't Starve, it originally released as a single player, and then everyone was like, this would be perfect in multiplayer, so we saw this version, and it is down 87% to the absolutely ridiculous price of about £1 or $1.99. So even if you just sometimes play co-op, maybe at Christmas, pick this up and just add it to a co-op games folder. How does it work? Well, it all takes place from an isometric view. It has a slightly unique, I guess, art style that looks partially hand-drawn, and it has that inverse kinematic art style that looks like puppeteering. But you can play 2 of you together on one console, or you can go up to 4 of you online, which is very fun. Essentially, each time you start a run, you've got absolutely bugger all, and you need to go out and find different things like sticks, grass, you'll make torches. As the light falls, that's when it gets really dangerous. You need to have fire, or you're just going to get gobbled up and it'll be game over for you. Now, your partner can resurrect you, but it's a real mission. Like, you have to go to a specific location, and then the whole time you're thinking, well, I need to eat as well. So it's this constant, almost, I don't want to say grind because that has a negative connotation, but it's this constant effort to survive and stay alive until that is about 20 or 30 hours into it, and you've just got this rhythm. You can pick it up and just live. You'll be like planting crops and making things that you didn't think were possible. There's so much new content in here as well since it first came out, and there is a physical of it as well if that's the way you'd rather go. But for a couple of quid, you might as well try it out, and if you like it, then you can grab the physical. That one, Don't Starve Together, is on sale at 87% off until May the 5th. Now, Rune Factory 4 Special Edition actually made Glen's, I think it was his best games of the year when it first came out. And even when the new one had been released, he still went back to this one and preferred it over that one. I think the later games focused more on combat and things like that, which he wasn't really bothered about. He loves that core farming and sim life, and Rune Factory 4 does that in bucket loads. Now, this one should come with a public service announcement that it's just mad addictive. I guess if you've played anything like Stardew Valley, you have an idea. My Time at Porsche, those types of games that just suck you in, and the next thing you know, you've spent 25 real-world hours cultivating a weird farm so that you can feed Bob the chemist, because for some reason you've taken a shine to him. Yeah, we know how these games go. Bob the chemist is a handsome man. Or Bobette, whatever floats your boat. At the moment, this one is only on sale in the European. You are looking at a 50% discount, and it fits into a 5.2 gigabyte download. This is single player only though, so I guess that's the one negative. Now, the Stanley Parables I played all the way back on PC years ago, and I totally didn't get it. I was like, what on earth is this? It starts out and you're a bloke basically typing away in a dead-end job, and it just gets stranger and stranger. but it has a groundhog element to it so that you'll finish the loop and you'll start again back at the desk, and you're really trying to work out, is this good, or have I basically just recreated my 9 to 5, but I've paid money for it? And it's definitely the first one. It tells an incredibly detailed and intricate story as well as self-reflection in such a clever way. And if that's something you like, those experiential games, a bit like, I don't know, I was going to say Superliminal, those ones that really make you question things, this is right up there with the best, and this is the deluxe edition, including all of the extra content that's come out for it, and at a stupidly cheap price. That's until May the 4th. Now the kids pick this week, it has to be LEGO Worlds on its cheapest ever sale. It's gotta be. Otherwise my daughter is going to kick my butt. That's 80% off until May the 1st, and this is an open world LEGO adventure that sees you moving from planet to planet. You can create whatever you want. It does that drip feeding of new LEGO models, and it's just as fun for adults as well. Now the Switch version, performance is alright. It's not the best, it's certainly not the worst. Good enough for kids, and to be honest, it's LEGO, I'm having a good time. But for the price they're asking here, if you are in the right region for it, I get asked at least 3 or 4 times a week if we can take the TV over, Dad, and play this. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm recording a video for SwitchUp. And then they look at me blankly and I walk off and let them play LEGO. So yeah, if you're interested in the kids pick this week, that's just £4.99 or your regional equivalent. I'm really happy to have Tactics Ogre Reborn on this list. It's 34% off with that sale going on until May the 8th. Now, if you're not sure what Tactics Ogre is or was, it's essentially the godfather of tactical turn-based games. Now, a lot of people say, no, that's Final Fantasy Tactics, but actually this came first, and then a lot of the team worked on Final Fantasy Tactics afterwards. They're both amazing games, but Tactics Ogre Reborn for me just did everything perfectly. It's no nonsense, it has a good story, but it doesn't over the story, you know, it doesn't put too much into the story so that you never actually get to do any tactical turn-based combat. There's so much of that. It's so brutal at the start, you're like, oh, the balancing's off, but then you get to grips with all the different classes, and it just becomes so easy to play. I was really impressed with it. It's another one that we have a full review of, and yeah, definitely worth it at the price they're asking at the moment, even though I guess it's a little more expensive than some of the games on this list. Last but not least then, before the SwitchUp Savaloys selection, we have Nier Automata. Believe it or not, this has just received another patch. I spoke about it in my All Patched Up series where I revisit games just about 2 weeks ago, and I was so impressed to see that they've almost entirely locked out that frame rate now. The resolution is slightly better than it was before, but this is an open world-ish, it's like interconnected open world, action game coming from Square ENIX, and it sees you play as an android who's sent back down to Earth to essentially try and eradicate, I'll just say a threat so that I don't spoil it. But the game's designed to be played through multiple times, and it gradually tells you the full story. So you will see several endings in air quotes, but it's outstanding, absolutely outstanding in every way, and if you've not played it, I can't hit you with enough hyperbole because it's incredible. It's 25% off until May the 8th. Last but certainly not least, we have our Savaloys selection, and a few games that I think you may never have heard of. First we've got Kamiko, which came out on the Switch a long time ago, and it's only £2.24. That's 50% off of what's already quite a cheap price. This is a lovely little top-down, reasonably short adventure game that features a few puzzles, some combat, and it all fits into 117 megabytes. I really enjoyed this for what it was. So yeah, if you want a little 2 to 3 hour long, quite charming adventure, this will be for you. Then you've got Wanderlust Travel Stories, which won't appeal to everyone. If you're a reader, if you're someone that likes to read, then this essentially takes a novel format and turns it into an interactive choose your own path adventure. It's mostly done with that narration and text, but there are lots of different journeys to go on. So yeah, if that appeals to you, I really like this. I thought it was very enjoyable. There's something quite whimsical about it, quite slow paced obviously with the format, but it's combined with a cracking soundtrack and manages to do enough with the storylines to make each one unique and interesting. Flat Heroes is just 89p. You wouldn't think it to look at this game, but it scored over 90% when I reviewed it back in the day. It's absolutely cracking. It's actually a really fast-paced action game, believe it or not, where you're essentially trying to survive as you make your way through over 300 levels, but there are boss fights in here as well. It also has drop-in and drop-out co-op and an incredibly good soundtrack. Really good game, well worth it at 90% off. My pickup of the week, or one of them, is Still Stand, which is 50% off, taking it down to the massive price of £1.34. Now, I'm a big fan of Donnie Darko, and this is essentially almost like a short movie. You're looking at no longer than about an hour, and in that time it manages to tell such a compelling story. It is a little bit of a psychedelic trip, but you experience a young woman's insecurities during a long summer of parties, dates, dreams, and time wasting. Very strange, very different, but absolutely a hidden gem. And that's it for this week. If you do want to support the channel, then please do click the links down below for the Final Fantasy game. Check it out, it's completely free to give that trial a go. And also a big thanks to the huge number of you that have subscribed in the last month, we really do appreciate it. And for those that are using the loyalty scheme to get those SwitchUp tokens, which are quite similar to Nintendo's own gold coins, except they're very, very different. And you can earn both ours and theirs, and save yourself even more money over at switchup.gg. Thanks to our Patreons and our members, and to all of you on this lovely Sunday night. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers, guys. See ya! That's quite a good one.